Hey you guys, it's Rachel here with Senza Tempo Cane Corso. So I wanted to do a quick little video on something that I feel that needs to be talked about. I've had a lot of people contacting me about wanting to buy a dog with breeding rights. People saying they want to be a breeder. And, I kind of wanted to go into that to some degree because I don't want to just be this person that just shuts people down. It's just like, no, you can't do it, blah, blah, blah. Like, I really want to go into, everything about it, and as well as trying to help people, if you really want to do it, how to do it right. So the first thing is you really need to ask yourself, why do you want to be a breeder? If your only intention is because you think that you can make lots of money doing it, then I want to be very clear. It's not, it doesn't work that way. Especially with this breed. I think that those of you that have been watching for a long time know how much money I've lost on these dogs. And I'll kind of remind you. Eclipse. I paid very good money for Eclipse. I think I paid $2,500 for her. I drove all the way up to North Carolina to get her. Didn't work out. Her temperament wasn't good. I sold her for $600. Okay. That's a very big loss. I bought Napoleon. I drove all the way up to South Carolina for him, paid $3,000 for him. I think I got maybe $1,200 for him, or maybe $1,700. I can't remember with him. And that was a loss because even though I really only lost a little over $1,000 on his cost, that's not including the trip, which was close to $1,000. So it's, combined between the two of those, we're looking at over $4,000 just with those two dogs alone. Okay. Then we had Seneca. I bought Seneca for $2,500. I drove all the way up to Indiana to get her. And, I think we sold her for $700. So I was out, let's see, that's I would say 5, 6, probably 7,000 right there with the trip. And then also Penelope. I bought Penelope. I spent a lot for her actually. Because it was so hot in Texas, she had to be shipped into Colorado. And then those people had to pay, or I also had to pay on top of that, ground shipping to have her brought to Texas. So just shipping alone for her was $1,800. And I think I spent $1,500 for her in general. So I spent over $3,000 for her, and gosh, I can't remember what I charged for her either. I want to say maybe $1,500 to $1,200. I can't remember. Maybe even $1,000. I literally don't remember. So that was a pretty good loss as well. We're talking maybe, we'll add another $1,000, maybe $2,000 to that. And then Tennessee was another dog that I bought. Didn't work out. I was actually doing a trade for her, so she didn't actually cost me any money right off the bat, but I did spend $1,000 on driving her to my house, and then also I had to drop her back off. Now, luckily, I was already on my way up there, so can't really count that. So we'll just say, chalk it up to $1,000. And I didn't get $1 for her because I had to actually take her back to the breeder. So I think that's all of them. If I've missed any, you guys let me know. We went through quite a few dogs, trying to get really good dogs. So, a lot of people that I know, one of the most common statements that I hear that is the hallmark of a horrible breeder, let me be very clear with you, a horrible breeder is the person that says, well, I need to recoup my money. Okay. You don't recoup your money as a breeder. That's not unless you breed very good litters and you are selling really good puppies, then that's one thing. But the idea that you can breed a dog with a bad temperament just because you paid for it and you don't want to lose out on that money and you figure, okay, well, I'm a breeder one time and make my money back. That's horrible. You're a horrible person if you do that. You failed the breeder test, because the number one point of being a good breeder is putting the breed first. It's breed preservation. Your job is to preserve the breed for generations of people to come. And if you find that a particular dog that you bought isn't breed quality, then if you breed that dog, you are only doing a disservice to the breed, and that means that you are not preserving the breed, and you're a bad person, straight up. You're a bad breeder, period, end of story. So it's crap. And you'll hear a lot of like backyard breeders say, like, there's this lady on one of my Facebook groups that I run, hardly I run it, which is why I didn't see this, but she had these mixed, like, they're like Great Dane, English Mastiff mixes, and she had them up there for adoption, and she said adoption, and she was like, yeah, I'm not going to breed anymore after this. And she's like, and I asked her, I said, okay, well, what's your adoption fee? And she goes, oh, I'm charging $300 a piece just to recoup my money. Recoup your money, $300? Like, what costs so much that you needed to recoup $300, mixed puppies? It's a lie, is what it is. It's their way of trying to guilt trip you into buying their backyard bred puppies, and she'll continue to do it. She's not done. That's people that do that. That's what they do. You know what I mean? That they live off that money, and it's just really annoying, and it's sad, because if a person spends $300 on a dog like that, but then something horrible happens where you have to take the dog to the vet, and I'm telling you, it happens. It in fact, not only does it happen, it's going to happen at the worst time possible. It's going to happen on a Saturday night or a Sunday. That's when it's going to happen. It's going to happen when only the emergency vets are open, and it's like $1,000 just to walk in the door. That's when it's going to happen. And if you don't have the money or the credit to be able to afford to fix that dog, then you have no business owning one. Okay? It's called responsibility, and a lot of people need to try it out, because there's too many people out there that are not being responsible about their choices, and too many breeders out there that are not being responsible about the people that they're rehoming dogs to. They just, for her, she's got her $300. She doesn't care what happens to those puppies. Anyone who's a good breeder cares what happens to their puppies. They want to make sure that you're going to do a good job. You know what I mean? It's not like you can go to an adoption facility and adopt a child and be, and be poor. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't. They're not gonna let you do it. You know what I mean? If you can't afford to take care of a child, if you can hardly afford to pay your bills, there's no way that you can afford the costs of a child, period. There's just not. And there's way too many people that are out there doing it. You know what I mean? That are out there having a bunch of kids that they can't take care of. And you know what? There's no laws against that. And if you want to do that, whatever. But when it comes to dogs, there are breeders that should not be placing dogs in people's homes that can't afford them. And the thing about it is, if you have a child and you can't afford your bills, there's all kinds of people that'll help you out. There's programs. You can take them to the emergency hospital and they can't turn you away. With dogs, they can and they will turn you away. And that's the biggest problem with it, is that there is no fail-safe. There's no safety net for people who get dogs that shouldn't have them and can't afford them, okay? And you'll see them every now and then get on Craigslist begging somebody for help, or with their little, I've seen it all the time, and I get people all the time asking me to share their GoFundMe because they can't afford to help their dog. And while I do empathize that I don't want your dog to die and I don't want your dog to suffer, it's equally irritating that you have that dog in the first place and you can't take care of it. I would be much happier to see somebody say, you know what? I messed up. I did the wrong thing and I can't take care of this animal, and I need someone to take this animal. You know what I mean? I need someone to step in and try to bridge the gap that I was unable to do. And and that to me is a much better thing than getting up there asking for a bunch of people to pay your vet bill, when all reality, you're going to end up just like this, in a second from now. You know what I mean? Sorry, I had to get onto my cat for being on my counter trying to eat stuff. She's a bad cat. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's a responsibility. You know what I mean? It's a luxury. Dogs are of a luxury, and you really do need to have the money to take care of them. That's just the reality of the situation. Get insurance. It's cheap. Get dog insurance. I can't stress it enough. I don't have any particular company. I'm not pushing anything, any specific brand or anything like that, but I am saying that if you're not made of dollars and you don't have money all the time, at least get pet insurance so that you can take care of that animal whenever something happens. Okay? I went off on a tangent. So, another thing is, to be a breeder, you really do, you need to understand structure and anatomy. I have a couple books here that I want to show you. One of my favorites is, let me get it out, this one. This is an amazing book, Structure and Action, okay, the makings of a durable dog. So there are so many things about being a dog breeder that are something that most people would never think about. Remember how I talked about the croup? Let me see here. Let me see if we can. These are top lines. I think I saw something about croups in here earlier. Here we go, croup. Okay, so this here shows the two rounded croup. Right here we have a correct croup, two rounded croup, and correct croup. Okay, you need to be able to recognize these things. All right, you need to be able to look at a dog and be able to see before you even look at the dog itself. Like, most people, when they look at a dog, all they see is color, the head, they see beauty, they see this, they see that. And they don't even try to look at the dog as a whole. Like, even right here, we can talk about the necks. Like this, my best friend and I were talking about this because there was this guy that claims to be this awesome breeder, and he had this dog that had this kind of, it was like a combination of the bull neck and a stovepipe neck. And you see how here where it kind of arches here, okay? And this is the straighter one, and then you have like just way too thick of a neck. So this right here is really showy when they have that really archy neck, you know what I mean? But it's actually incorrect, and it does cause stress on the back of the dog. And you can see here, it prevents the development of proper muscling, so is naturally weaker. Okay, so even though you may think it looks pretty, it's incorrect, and it's going to cause suffering for the dog. All right, and there's so many things. Like, how many of you are familiar with identifying a short upper arm? How many of you even know what that means? Okay, this breed in particular is extremely prone to a short upper arm. Okay. And it's something that people have a very hard time identifying. Same thing with shoulder lay. This is what we call shoulder lay, all right? This is a straight shoulder where it just comes down like this. This is a well-angulated shoulder, all right? So if you don't have good shoulder lay, what it ends up doing is causing this leg out here to not be able to extend as far out, okay? So all of these things really matter, and most people don't have any idea about any of it. And it's like, okay, so what are you going to do? What are you know what I mean? Like, if you want to be a breeder, what do you think that means? Do you think it just means putting pretty dogs together and then making money off the puppies? It doesn't. If you want to be a good breeder, then you're constantly looking at your dogs, and you know your dog's faults, okay? And what you're doing is you're constantly looking and seeing, okay, well, if, like, for example, with Blondie, right? Like, Blondie's head type is not correct, and we know that, right? I've never lied about it. I've never beaten around the bush about it. It's not the correct head type. However, we're breeding her to a male that has the correct head type. So we're fixing that. On top of that, Blondie actually has a really good temperament, and that's something that isn't necessarily the most common in this breed. We have a lot of bad temperaments. On top of that, she's got really good feet. She has very good cat-like feet. She has very tight feet. She has very good pasterns. There's a lot about her that actually is good. So, every dog has its pros and cons. I've seen a lot of people talk crap about Blondie, and their dog may have a pretty head, but structurally their dog is a mess. And there are some things structurally that are worse than others. Like, for example, I actually recently read an article on Rottweilers and how they have been bred to have such bad fronts, meaning that they have very bad shoulder lay, meaning the shoulders are too straight. They lack forechest. A lot of them have too deep of a chest. There's so many things that can go wrong with a dog. And if you don't know what you're looking at and you don't know how to address faults, then you may very well be actually breeding dogs that are going to have a very long lasting negative effect on the breed, because unfortunately what we have found is that fixing the front is one of the hardest things to do. Fixing the head is one of the easiest things to do. So for people that sit there and judge a dog by its head, but then they go around with dogs with structural faults, like it's too straight through the knee, has no rear angulation, it's roach back, it's square, it's straight shouldered, it's cow-hocked, it's got all these things, but it has this beautiful head. It's absolutely the wrong way to breed. Head is the least of your worries, because it absolutely has nothing to do with how the animal moves or how it's going to be operating or the health that animal's going to have. It just doesn't. It's the last thing that you should be worried about. The things you need to be worried about are the most common faults in your breed. So with my particular breed, the Corso, one of our biggest faults is a lack of rear angulation and a short upper arm with bad fronts, meaning that there's no angulation. The fronts are too straight. Okay, those are really big problems in our breed. And those are the things that should be considered first and foremost before things like the head type. Okay, it's like whatever. So I get a lot of slack for Blondie, but the truth is the people that are making those comments are only showing their ignorance, because head type is very easy to fix. They should be more concerned about the structural issues that can come up in lines, and that may be in my lines. Like, I've been honest about that. I could use much more rear angulation in many of my dogs. I do have dogs that'll fix that. For example, even though Batista doesn't have much now, he actually will have a lot, because he had a lot when he was young. And male dogs that are big lose that angulation as they grow, and they just kind of fall apart before they come back together. Same thing with Admiral. Admiral has really great rear angulation. Gina has really great rear angulation, and she has a very nice upper arm. I think Batista also has a very good upper arm. Velocity is square. She's has a lack of rear angulation, so it actually causes her to even appear cow-hocked at times. Blondie could have better rear angulation, but it's not the worst. Cashmere could have better angulation. It's not the worst, but she does have a slight roach to her back. It's not the end of the world, but she does have it. Gina, it's hard to tell. She's a puppy right now. Preacher, his croup is too steep, too short. His muzzle could be a little bit shorter and could be fuller. His eyes are a little round for the breed. Same thing with Velocity. Her eyes are a bit round. That actually leads to the boxer look. Whenever people say they look like boxers, that's not because the dogs have boxer in them or because they are expressing a boxer phenotype. It's actually bad selection. So when you have a round eye and the eyes are pretty far apart and you have that short muzzle, that's going to be a big problem. You know what I mean? It's going to look like a boxer. It doesn't mean that the dog shouldn't be bred. It means that you have to breed to a dog that is strong where that dog is weak. Another problem that some of these dogs have is what we call closed nares. And that means that the nostrils are not open enough. Okay, they don't allow enough air to come in and out for proper breathing. So it's not always that a short muzzle is the problem when we talk about dogs that are unable to breed, like bulldogs, things like that. Oftentimes, it's a combination of things. It's a combination of too short of a muzzle in combination with too closed of nares. So it's just something to think about. You know what I mean? There's so much that goes into it, and it's frustrating to me when people contact me and they're like, yeah, I want to breed. Or the most irritating thing I ever hear is, yeah, I want a female, but I only want to breed her once, And it's like, okay, yeah, you and everybody else. It's irritating, because the truth of the matter is you may only want to breed that female once, but you don't have a kennel, you don't have a name, you don't have anything. So when you go to sell your puppies, people are going to be like, okay, well, who are you? And the worst part is it's like you can't offer a health guarantee because what are you going to do? You can't replace the puppy. Most breeders replace the puppy. So you're either going to be out the money, you're going to have to pay people back $2,500 or $2,000 or $1,700 or whatever you're able to get. And on top of it, you're going to end up having to give the dogs away to people that maybe shouldn't have them because the puppies are getting older and you're getting stressed out and you're tired of them pooping and peeing on everything. And it's just a hassle. They don't recognize that it's you're not going to get your money back. It's like, it's none of that stuff. And it's wrong to do. It's selfish to do. You don't go around, trying to do everybody else's job. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't go to the carpenter and say, hey, I want you to build me a desk. But then I want to watch you do it. And then, and I want to build my own, I want to start building desks or whatever. I don't know. It's hard for me to really kind of compare it to other things, but it's just like, leave it to the experts. And if you do really want to do it, if you have a passion, then at least educate yourself on it, do the work, build your kennel name, build credibility, show your dog, health test your dog, take the steps necessary to be a good breeder so that you can get good homes for your dogs. And you're not struggling to find homes and then you end up, the dogs end up suffering. Another really good book is this one, An Eye for a Dog. Absolutely one of my favorites. As you can tell, it's been beat up pretty good. Got pages marked off, and they just have these illustrations on how to identify correct breed type. They even showing you here, you know what I mean? This is a hairy dog, and so it really goes to show you how to identify the structure underneath, right? So there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a breeder so long as you have the intention to do it the right way. All right. I don't want to burst anybody's dreams of, wanting to do that if that's indeed what you want to do, but do it right. You know what I mean? Don't be lazy. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it because you think you're going to make a lot of money, because all you're going to do is cause yourself a bunch of headache, and you're going to break the hearts of all the people that buy your dogs, and then they break down. You know what I mean? It's a really messed up thing to do. Breeding dogs is a big responsibility, and it needs to be taken that way. So, we don't need any more backyard breeders. A lot of people say, they use the term backyard breeder very loosely. And for me, that term is used to identify somebody that has no knowledge, no skill, and is literally just sitting there trying to make as much money as they can peddling puppies. All right. And it's just wrong. There's enough people out there doing it, and the breeds are already suffering as it is. People like me are already having to sort through the crap. And believe me, my best friend and I, we're constantly, we get harassed so much. Like the fact that we went to Italy and all this stuff, and only one breeder that I know even liked any of our posts about us going over there. They were and when we got back, oh God, boy, did we hear about it. So many people were gossiping, talking crap about our dogs. Even my best friend, who really has managed to kind of stay out of a lot of that stuff. Like, she's been big in the show community, and she's always been very well respected. And once she went over there, all of a sudden the tide turned, and everybody was like, talking crap about our dogs. And it's all unfounded, and it's all crap. And then we laugh, because then we go over and we look at the people who are talking crap about us, and we look at their dogs, and it's just like, it's just insane how their dogs have so many problems and they can't see it. And they can't see it because they're too busy online gossiping about other people. They're too busy, in all of the social drama to even bother to educate themselves or to even bother to look at their own dogs, And we're over here, doing work and getting stuff done and really educating ourselves. And they're just over there gossiping. So that's another thing. Stay out of the gossip. Stay out of the social scene. Don't kiss butt. If you see somebody who's a bigwig and they're out there, touting themselves and acting like, they're so awesome, odds are, in the long run, those people are usually some of the most ignorant. Even if they have a huge following, it doesn't matter. I can't tell you how many breeders that I know of that have a huge following and they don't have good dogs. You know what I mean? They don't have good dogs. They don't have good temperaments. They're awful people. And it's just one of those things. You know what I mean? Most of the time, a good breeder is going to be too busy to be involved in a lot of that drama stuff. You know what I mean? They don't have the time for it, and it's immature. It's pettiness. Whenever I went overseas, the breeders over there are of a totally different caliber. I mean, literally totally different caliber. I sat there talking structure with a veterinarian from Israel, and he was treating me like an equal. That would never happen over here. Like, never happen over here. First of all, most vets look down on breeders. I don't know why, but they do. And maybe it's because a lot of the breeders in America are not necessarily the same caliber of people. Because from what I've seen over there, if you want to be a breeder, you kind of already have to have money to start with, and money's hard to come by in a lot of those places, especially places like Serbia and Croatia. And so it's not really something you can do unless you already kind of are somewhat successful. So the caliber of people is totally different. And I found that to be very refreshing, to be able to sit over there and have intelligent, constructive conversation about the dogs in a way that is almost impossible over here. And so I encourage you to be that kind of breeder. I do. I encourage you to really educate yourself and be an educated, informed breeder, okay? The world needs more of them. The world does need breeders. People need puppies, but they need good, healthy puppies so that we don't continue to have videos and articles and these blog posts of showing what dogs used to look like and now what they look like now. You know what I mean? And showing all the deformed dogs from all the ignorant breeders that don't know what the heck they're doing. You know what I mean? Don't be one of those people. Be the exception. Be the better breeder. So anyway, so that's that. Rant over. Like I said, I'm exhausted. I had some guy that made some racist comments to me about other people, and it just kind of fired me up a little bit, and so maybe that's why I'm a little irked. But yeah, just take it seriously. You know what I mean? Like, don't be that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, be better. Try to be a better person. For God's sake, please. We have enough people that are just not doing it. You know what I mean? Just don't add to it, please. All right? Hope you guys are having a great night, and I'll talk at you later. Bye.